So it started in Fresno. So we were invited to a third party's home. We didn't even know
We
them.
didn't know them.
So a family in Fresno, hopefully
All 6 of us, 4 kids, parents, just went to somebody's house.
just a random person's house
Just random person's house.
with a family friend.
That invited us.
Yeah, to go with them.
Yeah.
To a random person's
Yeah.
house.
They're like, así tono Fresno di Caquilania. And we were excited.
Well, it started with we were sitting in our home and our
boy.
family friend was over, right? And I said, we didn't really live in a village in India, so I didn't grow up on farms. I would love to see a farm. And he's like, you haven't been to a farm? And I said, no. And he goes, okay, next weekend we're going to Fresno. That's how it started. So we started driving to Fresno. And we're staying at somebody's house.
So that's how we invited ourselves over to somebody else's
he
house.
He invited us to go to somebody else's house, and everybody was so loving.
They were
Like,
so accommodating.
I felt like I was in my just a relative's home.
Yeah. They were super
Those were the
nice.
times. I wonder if something like that is possible now. I don't think so. That's the sad part. I feel like it's not.
Well, at my house, yes. If people wanted to come over and somebody was coming over and they said, I have a friend, we want to bring them to, like, I don't know about 6 people, because again, we're a small family, but let's talk about like, okay, the kind of ratio that I can handle. But if there's like 2 people coming to my house and they say we have a friend and they would like to come see Southern California or whatever too, I'd be like, yeah, bring them over. Hey, it's going to be a little bit like, everybody may not have rooms for each person, but I'll accommodate them. I think it's kind of fun having a lot of people over.
Well, I think our conscience-wise, I think our community is still like that. Like if somebody says, I want to come over, can I stay over to your house? More than not, we're going to say yes. Because we like that community feeling.
It's fun.
We like to be around people.
Yeah.
But I think what's changed is where it could be spur of the moment. And there was every day was home-cooked meals, which we are probably going away from. We're going to probably order food. And that probably has to do with, just the way the work life is.
Just because people are busy.
People have gotten very busy.
I think that's as long as their expectations are not, hey, we're going to get breakfast, lunch, and dinner made by the host, then that becomes challenging. But I think when mom was there, she was also helping in the cooking and everything too. Like normally everybody kind of, chips in with all the work.
One thing that stood out to me, and I still remember, is for one of the afternoons, they made makki di roti and saag. And so making makki di roti, there were 6 of us. There were 3 in the other family that were taking us with them. And then there were 4 people in the host family. That's a lot of people. 5.
Yeah, 3 kids. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You're right.
Everybody
5
always
people.
forgets the youngest person.
There were 5 people in the host family. And so we're talking about a good number of people to make makki di roti. And they
did it with a smile. They did it with a smile. But here's the part that's interesting. So we got invited through another family to go to this other family's house, right? That family was invited to a wedding. And so we all were also now attending this random person's wedding whose name we don't know.
In another town.
In another town.
In Livingston.
In Livingston.
Precise.
I wonder how far away Livingston is from Fresno.
It was like an hour. I remember like about an hour drive from Fresno.
Yeah.
And so in Livingston, when we went to that wedding, we ran into
a family
friend.
Relatives.
Family friends, relatives.
Yes.
Those were the times.
The whole town went to that wedding, and there were like 1,000 people at that wedding. Super fun wedding. I think it was probably the best wedding I ever went to.
Because we didn't know anyone.
And there was live music, like we were talking about. There was live music.
Bhangra band there, which was not common at that time.
And it felt like I was in Punjab. It didn't feel like I was in outside Punjab.
So fun fact, Livingston is where Foster Farms
chicken
chicken plant is, and that's where a lot of the desis work.
They were the biggest employer in
yeah.
that town,
So
whether they were vegetarian
or not.
They were still
worked-
working
they
at
worked in
Zachy or
Livingston.
Foster. Which one did you say?
I think it was Foster Farms.
Yeah.
And see, that's the thing. Once you have this one big company settle in a town,
Yeah.
it just becomes the economic hub, and that's almost like another town grows out of that. That's connected to that company.
Yeah.
So talking about economics, I would think Indian weddings are pretty. It's a source of even job creation in some ways.
Well, I
have a lot of feelings about that.
It is. Look, here's the thing. You've got the makeup artist, right? Those are expensive. The bridal makeup is like $1,000, okay? And then you have all the guests and the bridesmaids and everybody. And then you've got the hair person who's going to come in, the nail person. I mean, it just really adds up just on the grooming part of it.
And catering.
I got married a little while ago. I'm still like kind of trying to get over that, how much I spent on that little wedding that I had, because it was right around COVID.
Yeah.
We had a backyard. I like to call it a backyard wedding, even though it wasn't a backyard wedding. Technically, we
was.
were at the Gurdwara, but the
was a
events
nice
were
wedding.
in our backyard, and it was still so expensive.
Yeah.
Do you know the average price or the cost of a wedding nowadays? It starts at $300,000 for an average wedding.
Average
That is nuts.
Yes.
You know, it's funny. Somebody was on the same topic. Somebody was talking about it, and they were talking about, if you want to do a destination wedding, which a lot of Indians do now in Rajasthan, like in India. So if you do it in Jaipur, it's more expensive. If you do it in Udaipur, it's a little bit less expensive. And the guy was talking in crores, which sometimes I don't understand. Like our
understand.
mind doesn't work.
Because it doesn't
that
go
way.
in like those
Yeah.
3 digits at a time. It's like,
So what I figured out, because it's just interesting. Numbers are always interesting to me. So I was like, okay, what's a crore? It's $90,000. Okay, it's about about $90,000. So he was talking about, well, if you want to do it in Jaipur, it's about 5 to 6 crores. If you want to do it in Udaipur,
Yeah,
it's a little bit
ridiculous.
less. And I'm translating this in dollars, and I'm thinking, oh my God! So imagine a family in India who's having a destination wedding, and it's costing them like $300,000.
but it might be cheaper than doing event at a time and then trying to arrange for the party supplies, all of the stuff that you need, chairs, tables,
You would
catering, arranging all of that. And the great thing about destination wedding is you've paid somebody, it's their responsibility. You don't have to sit there and supervise and make sure everybody did their job.
So it's kind of like they have wedding planning. So wedding planners at these destination weddings, so everything is done for you.
And remember, your guest breakfast, lunch, and dinner is taken care of without you having to make sure that, how's the service being performed.
But in addition to that, there's also, it's not just Indian wedding especially, it's not just a cost to the family that's having the wedding, that's hosting the wedding. It's a big cost for guests also to attend Indian weddings.
Well, when there's like 5 events now, you need all those outfits and everything too. What do you think?
Well, one thing I wanted to mention about the cost, and you said that you think it would be cheaper to do a destination wedding in India. I think in Mexico, yes, because what happens when you do destination wedding in Mexico is you're like, hey, you're invited to the destination wedding, show up, right?
Yeah.
And then you have a deal with the
So all
with the
inclusive
hotel
package.
Yeah,
that
So,
the
but
guests
you're
have.
paying
Yeah.
for that package as a guest.
Yeah.
In India, no. When they invite people to the destination wedding, you're paying for everything.
You're paying for the guests.
You're paying for the guests to stay there as well.
Oh, wait,
so,
say
and
it
you're-
again. In Mexico, what's the difference? I
So
got
in
confused.
Mexico, let's say I invite you to my destination wedding. I'm going to tell you, look, here's the resort's information. Here's the link. You go and reserve it. You'll get a discount because you're coming to the wedding. But you're the one who's paying for it.
Okay.
But in India, I believe the host pays for everything. So that's where the cost really adds up. And so in India, and according to this expert that I was listening to, it's cheaper. It's definitely cheaper to have it in your city because now you're not flying anyone. You're not hosting anyone. You're not paying for them to stay in a hotel.
I don't think that's the case in America, though. I think it's very expensive to. Maybe in India, yes, but in America, because you have to. I mean, just like I said, using my own wedding as an example, it was a little wedding, okay, and just trying to provide for the services, trying to arrange for everything, making sure even that the person who does your makeup shows up on time. Unfortunately, and I know I'm going to get some hate over this, but the truth is that people who provide those kinds of services like makeup, hair, and stuff, there are some people that are very good. There are many people who are in that industry that are not reliable. They will, last minute say, okay, sorry, I can't make it. Maybe somebody's paying them a little bit more. I can't make it. I'll send somebody else. And now you have a new person showing up. And that's a real problem that you kind of like a risk that you might have to consider on the day of the wedding. So it's very stressful. Yes, I think this is part of the reason why people started using, event planners. And but I think the problem with the event planners is that, let's say they're doing a Sikh wedding, they may not understand the nuances within a Sikh wedding. They may not understand how, like, you went to a wedding where there was a wedding planner and they were not letting you go to the area where the wedding was actually happening, and you were like, I want a matha take. Like, I should have access.
Wait,
Can I share
yes,
that
please.
story?
Yes,
Can I share?
I would love to hear
This is ridiculous. I couldn't believe it.
I actually cannot believe I experienced that, and I think about it as an
That is
example.
strange.
So what had happened is it was a Hindu Sikh wedding. So the girl was Hindu, and they're Punjabi. Both parties were Punjabi, so they're well aware of how it goes, the Anand Karaj and everything. And the guy side was Sikh. So the Baraat that was coming in was Sikh, but the arrangements that were done in the backyard, beautiful wedding, was a Hindu family. I was a guest of the Hindu family. So when Anand Karaj happened, the day of the Anand Karaj, there was a beautiful sort of, you can call it balcony, where they had Babaji's bead and Prakash, and that's where the wedding was supposed to happen. It was a big wedding, but that space where where Babaji's Prakash was relatively small. Probably could only accommodate 50 people. But the wedding had maybe 300-400 people.
Can I just interject for a second? Do you think that, because usually in traditional Sikh weddings, you don't separate the guests from the wedding. Do you think that there was some like sort of Hindu cultural like sort of influence that happened?
Yeah,
where they do the
definitely.
mandap separately and people are still kind of doing their own thing and
100%.
socializing and eating and stuff. at the same
100%
time.
that happened. Because in a Sikh wedding, if you have 300 people coming to the wedding, you would accommodate 300 people to be able to witness the Anand Karaj, to be there present.
Because it's not that long.
Because it's only less than an hour, right?
Right.
So it definitely, there was, and it was an event planner who had planned this. I think there was definitely that.
Can I ask do you think the event planner was Desi or non-Desi?
It was Desi because all the decorations were Desi, but that doesn't mean they understood like a Sikh
Because
wedding.
Desi can be many things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what had happened? So this beautiful balcony, and again, out of this world decoration, you go up the stairs to go to this balcony. Everybody else was below the stairs, right? There's a sort of a party atmosphere where everyone's eating and all, drinking, which I didn't like. But so I'm like, okay, Babaji's bead. Okay. First thing I'm going to do when I arrive there is go upstairs, matha take. That's just etiquette,
It's not etiquette. That is part of who we are.
That's
right?
what I mean. It is part of our etiquette. It's a learned behavior. It's our, like, you have to go say hello to the elder of the family before when you go to the house, no matter what, right? Something like that. So I'm like, Mansha, my daughter was with me. So I'm like, hey, let's go Babaji nu matha tek ke aane, and then aake breakfast khavange. And so both of us like just walking up, right? We get stopped, like literally stop. Are you family?
It's a bouncer.
Are you family? No, I'm telling you, this is funny. So, are you family? I'm like, no, because I'm not going to lie. Why? I'm not family. I said, I'm friends. I'm friends of the family. Go, only family allowed upstairs. Okay, it's very formally, informed. I'm like, okay. I said, I have to go upstairs because I have to go pay my respect, it's a religious thing. And I'm not actually going to stay. I just need to go do that. No, only family upstairs. I said, okay. So I called my friend who had invited me, who was part of the host family. And I said, you're going to get into a lot of trouble here because more than half of the guests are sick. And everybody's going to want to go upstairs. I said, this is inappropriate.
Right.
So, of course, she stopped them and said, "Look, whoever wants to go upstairs can go upstairs." And so I went upstairs, did whatever.
But it took somebody to point that
Yeah.
out. So that's
I have a lot of thoughts on this whole situation.
So that brings us back to what you were saying, which is, that when we hire event planners, etc., they
have to
may
be
not
more.
understand the subtleties, the innuendos of religion, culture, tradition, different things. So, yeah, I think that's going back. I think that's what we're missing with the, we were talking about that Livingston wedding, for example. That's what I
We
miss
still
about
remember it
Livingston
because
wedding.
it was
We
all
will
access.
forever.
Yeah.
We could have gone to the bride and groom and shook their hand like nobody cared.
We did. I think we did and paid her. We probably took pictures.
Okay, so here are a couple of issues with what you just said. The destination wedding, sort of, even though it's in somebody's house, it's still like now you're taking Guru Granth Sahib Ji to a different place. Bed bhi ho rahi hai. Because in presence of Guru Granth Sahib Ji, because the Guru Granth Sahib Ji is right there, and you're serving alcohol, you're chit-chatting, you're ignoring Guruji, where Guruji is like the center point. Why are we getting married? Why is the wedding even happening? The wedding there's a reason for it. We are saying and we are committing as a couple in front of Guruji, right? So the whole of attendees should have been encouraged to sit there and give their blessings to the couple at that moment, rather than isolate them.
Yeah.
And I mean, I understand exclusivity is kind of cool, but no, I don't think
Not in
so.
this
Not in wedding. Look, when we had our little wedding, in the Gurdwara, there was a random lady that was there that day. It was like an off day, I don't know, Thursday or something. There's a random lady there. She was a customer of Daddy. So I didn't recognize her. She recognized me. She said, "Tusi Patiya Sahab di beti ho." I was like, "Yes." And this is like me as I finished after the lama. We're all walking out, and she comes up to me very polite, and she handed me a $10 bill. And that was
That is a
emotional.
token. That's a token.
See,
that's beautiful.
that's what we are supposed to be like.
That was a blessing.
Because
I wasn't like, who's this lady and why is she in my wedding? I was like, oh, this is beautiful.
because
this is so precious.
Because in a gurdwara, even if you're having a wedding, that's two families involved in a wedding, it's still
It's
a
a gurdwara?
gurdwara and it's sangat, and that's where we're not exclusive. We are inclusive, meaning who am I to say you can come to Gurdwara, you can't because we're having a function. It's not that. It's
Right
a
on.
community thing. And the other thing is marriage is supposed to be where, let's say, two people are getting married. Rest of the sangat is also it's a religious event where you're actually in a meditation. You are learning about bigger lessons of life. So it goes beyond just the two people who are getting married. And I think that's what we forget.
It's a very holy moment. But unfortunately, in that holy moment, when we were doing lama, and I hate to admit this, I was annoyed with my lenga. Okay, I was annoyed with every time I did the matta take, and I got up, my tikka was all over the place. The person who did my hair decided that day that I needed these two little bangs on the side. Those things drove me absolutely nuts. And unfortunately, every time I did matta take, and I hate to admit this, I was like, oh my God, I'm cursing the lady who did the two little bangs because I didn't want them. I got, convinced to do it. And I was like, I wish I didn't have this stuff. I wish everything was pinned perfectly in one place and I could just focus on doing the lama. I could just focus on what's happening. I lost count.
You're like, am I on the third level?
I
or
lost
the
count. I didn't know. Like, I think it's when people were like all of a sudden smiling, and then I was like, oh, this is it. And I was smiling because I was like, finally, it's over. Like, no more decision making on the wedding.
For the bride, wedding is always a very like
So stressful.
It's a
So
stressful
stressful.
moment. I'm not surprised that you were stressed. I think that's pretty common.
But if I can just make one point, I think one of the issues that we have in America, and maybe in India too, I don't know. I haven't been to an Indian wedding in a wedding in India in a long time. But we're trying to take the mentality of American weddings and what they think is proper etiquette, and we're trying to put that into an Indian wedding, and it's not working because we people want to take their kids to weddings. People want all access to the bride and groom because they want to give their blessings. I know somebody who went to a wedding recently, and it was at a beautiful country club. And she's like, I'm walking around checking out the country club, and I could see like a photographer taking photos of the bride, and this is my niece. And I'm like, hey, she's like, and the wedding planner said, no, you can't be here.
Yes.
Stop, go away. And it's like, but that's my niece,
Yeah,
right?
I think I don't like that performative act of wedding nowadays. It's become a performance. And I think that's where we probably need to pull ourselves back and go, find our ground again. Who are we supposed to be? And even when we say Indian wedding, there's no such thing as Indian wedding. There's so many cultures in India. There's so many different practices.
Different
But I
religions,
think
different way they practice their religion sometimes.
Yes, but I think you're right that we're taking the Western template and we're imposing it on how we are supposed to, carry this important function.
Thank you for giving an intellectual twist to what I just said.
I don't know if this is intellectual, but I think it's more like I think it's practical point that we are doing that. That is exactly it's not just in the intellectual place, it's practically that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're taking a very Western formula and we're trying to apply it, impose it on something that is not Western. And that's true even in the leadership fields. What are we beginning to consider is a leader? We look at the Western template, right?
We
So
look
I
at it
think
every
that's-
time. I think everybody looks at the Western template as like, this is the prototype. This is what we're supposed to fit into.
And wonder why
Ironically-
that is.
Ironically, I think when it comes to weddings, Western world looks at Indian weddings as like
Yeah.
something fun. They all want
Starting
to
to
attend.
be that way, yeah.
I think they want everyone to get married. Any Indian friend they have to get married so they can get invited to an Indian wedding. So Indian wedding is a very special thing, and we would be it would be such a loss for us to lose that
culture.
and that part of that culture, everyone dancing, everyone enjoying, little kids. I want little kids running around. A lot of the times what I've heard is in the weddings like these days, oh, we don't want kids because of the cost. It's cost per plate. If you can't afford the cost per plate to include kids, then go to a lower place. You can't afford that wedding that you're trying to have. Simply speaking,
Well, I've
you
even
need to have-
I've even not gone to places that I was invited when my kids were little. If it said no children, do not bring your children, I would just say then none of us can come because one of us can come. Either my husband can go or I can go because somebody's got to watch kids, right? And I'm not willing to leave them with so and so and so and so just so I can attend your wedding. So either you invite my kids or I'm not going to go because that used to offend me greatly that you don't want my children.
So the funny thing is also, like a side note, you'll be surprised how many adults, young adults that are in the Western world who have never attended a wedding ever. Can you imagine that?
I can't.
Yeah, it happens now because of the amount of weddings that exclude children. How do you exclude children? So imagine, we remember weddings as children. We all attended many weddings.
We have memories.
But imagine not having attended any wedding. If you haven't attended any wedding, why would you want to get married? You've never seen a bride. You've never seen a groom. You've never seen people going gaga goo over them and the excitement in the family. So what's happening now, I think, as a culture in the Western world, I hope Indian doesn't copy this, is that by excluding children, they somehow think magically children are the future generation is going to know what a wedding is and would want to have a wedding. So it's very strange situation in my opinion. I don't think anyone, I've never heard anyone thinking about that. I think about it every time I look at it and go, how are you excluding children from their own relatives' wedding?
Yeah.
Right.
Their own family member's wedding.
Right.
Amazing.
Okay, can I also discuss there's another issue that we have in Indian weddings in America. Okay. They'll have like 4 or 5 events, right? Mehndi, wedding, reception, lady sangeet, what have you.
They're making up events.
Right.
Mother-in-law's bridal
Right,
shower.
mother-in-law's
and
bridal
brother-in-law's
Well,
bridal
here's the problem, okay? Some people get the gold package, some people get the diamond package, and some people get the platinum all access to the wedding package.
Wait, what?
So you have some
I don't
people that are
understand
invited to like the mehndi and the wedding.
Oh, I see.
Some
I
people
see
are
what
only
you're
invited
saying.
to the wedding and that's it.
And then
some
I'm
people are like
offended.
mehndi wedding and look, if I'm getting invited only to the wedding, I'm okay with that. I can live with that because I'm like, okay, yeah, I don't know them that well. Wow, nice that they even invited me to the Anand Karaj. Okay. But then there's always that relative, that friend that comes up to you and they're like, oh, you don't know them that well, do you? We got invited to everything. You got only the wedding. Oh, you missed out. The mehndi was so much fun. There was so much food. They'll rub it in. And so now your friendship with that person is like on full display.
It's tainted.
It's true. It's
Everybody
very awkward.
sees how great of your friendship is with that person. And it's a little bit awkward. Like, I'm okay with that. But it's the, let's say you have 2 sister-in-laws and one sister-in-law has the, all-inclusive package, the platinum package of the invitation, and the other one gets the gold package. This is going to be like a Real Housewives situation between the two.
Yeah, and it's usually friends who it's because relatives are usually invited to all things. That's what I so
No,
far.
I'm talking
that's-
about like your own relative as a
your
guest.
own. Oh yeah.
Right?
Oh, that's,
It's-
that's very tacky.
Normally, you know what? Like, let's say,
Kain log maja lande ne. They want to see.
it's true. Like, let's say
That's
both of
also
us,
true about our community. Sorry, go ahead.
if both of us are invited to a wedding, right? Let's say it's at Benita's house, okay? And we're friends. Let's assume we're all friends. You and I cannot now openly talk because normally what would we do? We would say, hey, you're going to Benita's house, on Tuesday. Hey, can we ride here? Or what are you wearing? But now we can't talk openly like that because I have no idea what you're invited
Yes.
to. You have no idea what I'm invited to. And if I'm a kind-hearted person, I do not want to offend you. It's the same thing. I think the trend starts from the top. It's the super wealthy, like the Adanis, the Ambanis.
Yes,
They
good
come
point.
up with the fancy, like gold-plated, wedding invite, which they can afford. But then everybody feels like they also need to, like, because they're following the trend. So the trend is always set by the people who can afford to set those types of trends, right? But then common people, I'm including ourselves in the common people, we're the common people, that you kind of go, okay, well, I want to, you might see a picture of it. And then also the wedding invitation industry will say, hey, do you want this invite? Now, these days, this is what you do. You don't just send an invite. You send an invite with a gift. It has to have some kind of a
Gold
gift in
chain
it.
or something.
So it's a slippery slope when it comes to a wedding industry.
I have a question for both of you. Do you think that the people in India are setting the trend in weddings, or do you think people outside of India, they're setting the trends for wedding? Who is influencing whom?
I don't think there
More.
is a trend actually. It's as far as like how the weddings are happening. I think that the wedding itself is not a trend. What's trending is that we have to keep up, we have to show off. There's this desire to have this social status. That is what the trend is. And maybe it is influenced by Ambani and whatever, but I don't think people here are necessarily influenced by Ambani. They're just influenced by each other. Like it's more of a local influence on each other. So-and-so had their child's wedding at this hotel, so therefore I need to do something comparable. So I think it's that social status, social stratification, which is in a way, it's almost like social hierarchy that's building. You know, they could have it that because they're wealthy, we can't. It builds that social hierarchy. So I almost think there's a couple of things involved here. There's the tradition involved because, you know, okay, Mehndi and this and that. There are some traditional things, which is habitual. People think that
But
has
is
to be
Mehndi
done.
really a Punjabi thing?
It is, but it's
Well, I guess for Muslims, yes, for sure.
no. But Mehndi used to
what
be
about
not
others?
a separate event. It used to be just sort of like embedded within other events.
Lady Sangeet.
Yeah, it wasn't a separate event, but people are making things separate events. But the idea is that there's tradition, and then there's the consumerism, right? Like card companies, etc. And then there's the desire to have this social status. All those three things are playing a role within moving people in shaping people's thinking.
Okay, what do you think? Do you
I
think
agree with you, but I also disagree to some degree. I think there's part of it. What you said, absolutely true. But I think there is this trend, and this has happened. This
we're
is
talking about
new.
dekha dekhi?
Dekha dekhi trend. Like this is not new. When you think about when we were younger, when we were in India, you know, as little children, we attended many weddings, and the weddings used to be like, you know, a tent and a very, you know, caterer, and
But that was the trend at that time.
that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
That was the trend at that time. But if you talk to the elders of that time, they would say this is very fancy.
Right.
In our day, you know, it used to be done at home, and the Baraat would come, and the whole village would just help. You know?
Everybody got together.
And so what would happen is
contribute.
half of the Baraat might sleep in your neighbor's
In your
house, and the
neighbor's
other
house.
half in the other neighbor's house. And everybody got together and cooked together. So the ladies would start few days before. Everyone would help. There was no catering. So by the time we were attending the weddings that we attended as in our childhood, they were already, our elders were already like, this is different. So
But just adding to it, remember Mom used to say that when they had a wedding in Jedio Gali ch rehndे sige, all the neighbors would cook some snack or something and bring it to that house that was having the wedding.
True.
Especially if it was a girl's wedding.
Yeah.
They would all contribute towards it just to help the family.
yeah, because all of those neighbors were the families that had come from like more the, what is today Pakistan, like during partition. So they all had kind of similar kind of a way of doing things.
Mindset.
So it was kind of nice that they were all living close to each other. And that was, there were still elements of the old fashioned, which is, because as long as you have your elders, they're still gonna do things the way they're used to.
Right.
So there was a little bit of that. The neighborhood became family because there was no village. This was in the city, but all these people had come from villages, so they still had that mindset to be neighborly, to help out. So I remember in some of the weddings, we would sleep in the neighbor's house because the house that our grandparents from Mom's house, our Nani's house, was pretty small. So when the weddings would happen, the children would be sent off to the neighbor's house to sleep
That's
there.
how much they trusted the neighbors.
Oh,
You know, it's
yeah.
like family.
Yeah, it was totally like family. And the neighbors would empty out some rooms to lend to for usage.
So
of
what
the
about
family.
today? Do you think that going back to the original question, I know this is such an interesting topic. There's so
Yeah.
much that we can talk about, but do you think that in terms of wedding, the trends in the wedding, do you think people in India are setting the trends that people outside of India are trying to emulate? Or do you think people in India are trying to emulate what they see on social media in regard to like the weddings that are happening outside of India?
So I think it's a little bit of both. In my opinion, the Western weddings, okay, they set some trends
Right.
that get like incorporated into weddings in India, okay? Because they're always looking for something different. You're always trying to one up your neighbor.
Do you think this sense of like aesthetic, like
Yeah,
the
the
maid of
sense of
honor,
aesthetic.
these are the,
That's
what do you
it.
call them? The bridesmaids, everybody needs to be color coordinated. I think that's a very American,
thing. That's
a Western
Western
thing.
influence on them.
So Indian weddings adapted that. But then whatever the Indian weddings are doing, the Indian weddings in India are doing,
Right.
people here, when they have weddings, they look to those weddings and adapt that. And then the Indian weddings here get a little bit of Western influence
Right.
by 1, 2, 3 steps.
I would put it as like it's like an arms race. When two countries have an arms race, like one outdoes the other, and I think that we're having like an arms
And
race, but it's
everybody
weddings.
loses.
Yeah, and
almost
everybody
also-
loses.
Yeah,
'cause,
I almost think also here when they organize weddings, people outside India, the families outside India, they're actually also inspired by nostalgia. So they try to recreate the old traditional aesthetics and practice. So that's why it's like
ends up costing so much more
Which-
trying to get all the goodies
So I think-
and everything.
yeah, so I think that plays a part
Yeah.
here. So that's why it becomes like when we used to we used to joke sometimes, that I feel like attending a wedding, I'm attending like a Punjabi cultural night, like it's a
with all the
performance.
dances.
Yeah.
I am so sick of like 10 dances happening at like there's one at wedding, there's Mendi, performances, and then there's reception performances, and it's just way too many. Like I think they
exhausting.
need to keep it to like, okay, let's do like maybe one from the bride side, one from the groom side, or maybe two. But that's about it. Like there's just way too many performances. And then there's always that one person that gets too comfortable with the microphone.
The
And then they
speeches.
just
Yeah, the
speeches, and you
speeches.
can't take the microphone away from them, and they think they're funny, and their jokes are always a little bit weird and sometimes bizarre and not kid friendly. And you're like, this is a Desi wedding. What are you talking about, uncle? Like, don't go there,
But my
It's
point
making everybody
was,
uncomfortable.
just to finish my point was that a lot of the people here are, yes, they're influenced, but I don't see so much influence coming from India necessarily. I see more in terms of like performative act. Like this is how it used to be. This is how I want to recreate that memory. So I think some of it is coming from that also. It's
So
the
you're
nostalgia.
saying it's not the influence, like in real time influence from India, but it's more like people wanting to recreate what they lived through in the
Yes,
past.
I think that
Okay.
that is playing some part in it as well.
Okay.
So one thing that I'm afraid of, okay? So so one thing that continues, and I have to be very careful what I say here because, I don't want to name names or point out things, but I'm talking in very general terms. One thing that continues in India is this whole idea of gift giving during weddings.
That's in
especially when it
America
comes
too, though. That's in
but
America too.
that's what I was going to
Yeah.
say. Like, but the amount that they do in India, okay, we're not talking about a token gift. Like I may give you a sari or something. We're talking about lots of money, okay. And I've witnessed it myself, which I was shocked by the envelopes and envelopes of money. And we're talking about during Milni, okay, where the girl's family is giving the guy's family. I don't see that here yet, and I hope. Oh my God, I hope.
Let me
that's
tell
not
you something.
What?
Let me tell you something. So what they're doing now is, so there's like, obviously people, some of them are so attached to this concept of dowry, but they don't want to say it. So a lot of times, and generally it's the bride's
Always.
family that's giving down payments on homes. Okay. So $200,000, $300,000 for down payment on homes. So it's not really a dowry, but here's a big gift for you guys so you can get started. The guy's not asking. It's not that the groom is asking for it, but maybe,
But is the
culturally,
groom's
this is-
family also paying the down payment, or no? Or are you seeing that it's mostly just the bride's family?
I have heard, and maybe this happens in Punjabi families too. I don't know, but in Gujarati, it's pretty common to hear about a bride's family giving down payments on homes, buying cars, and
So
things like that.
some people are
This
doing that.
needs to stop.
This
This needs
it
to
is a
stop.
bad trend.
It's
and
embarrassing.
It's really
It's
bad.
Embarrassing.
Well, hold
Like,
on. If it's equity, where it's like, okay, you're not seeing only one side. Let's say groom's parents, bride's parents, they both put down payment to get them started. Nothing wrong with that if it's parents' choice. But if it's just bride's parents doing it, or if it's just one side expected to do it, and if we see that as a pattern happening, then we need to be definitely concerned about it.
Here's another point to what you just said.
We need to name and shame them.
I think there may not even be people asking for it, but because of that Desi mentality coming from India, where they feel like they automatically need to do this without someone even asking. And I think that that's happening too, where they're setting this trend because they think, oh, if I do this for my daughter, they're going to treat her well.
better.
He's going to treat her well. And of course, there's no guarantee.
Whitewashing dowry, okay?
Oh, yeah. So but that's been going on forever.
So the whole idea of, oh, at just shagan hai, okay? At just shagan hai. Oh, ਅਸੀਂ ਮੁੰਡੇ ਦੇ ਫਾਦਰ ਨੂੰ ਤੇ ਸ਼ਗਨ ਦੇਣਾ, ਉਹਦੀ ਮਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਸ਼ਗਨ ਦੇਣਾ, ਉਹਦੀ ਭੈਣ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਸ਼ਗਨ ਦੇਣਾ, ਉਹਦੀ ਮਾਸੀ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ, ਮਾਸੜ ਨੂੰ. You start naming names and you're talking about, we all have big families. And you're talking about, if you're talking about 20 people, well, you're not going to just give them small amount. You're going to give them decent amount. Next thing you know, there's a bankruptcy going on, right?
Yeah.
So I think we have to be mindful of the fact that all this is whitewashing dowry. And you can put lipstick on a pig, is still a pig. You can try to make it as pretty as you can. It's still dowry, in my opinion. If the burden is only, if it's one-sided gift, if I always give you the gift and you have no obligation to give me the gift, then it's unfair.
a dowry.
And it's the girl's family always giving and always giving.
Remember, in India, they tactfully give a list of these are the people you need to give gifts to.
Yeah.
That's so gross.
Yeah.
I mean, in my opinion, that's really
They
disgusting.
may not specify what kind of gifts, but the standard's been set.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if keeping up with the Joneses, if the previous wedding, everybody got gold chains, then the expectation is that now everybody's getting gold chains too.
I have a funny story.
At the very least.
I have a funny story. So I was sitting with a family friend whose son had just gotten married. Okay, this is in India. And, they were showing me, they were very gracious. They were showing me pictures of the wedding. I had just missed it. And I came a few days later. And so there was still mithai. It was still very much like a wedding house. And when they were showing me pictures, they're like, oh, look what the mother-in-law got. And it was a gold set, okay? And me not... I had a split second kind of like brain fart, but I forgot that the person who was talking to me was the mother-in-law. Okay, but she was just being kind of cute about it. She's like, "Oh, look what the mother-in-law got."
She was talking about herself in a third person.
And me, like, always been against all this. I was like, "Hun, sas nu bhi gift dena penda." Oh wow! And then I caught myself because I'm like, oh my God, this is the sas. So I'm like, this is really nice, beautiful, beautiful. I let my guard down for a minute.
Yeah.
But yeah, things are, how we remember them, things have gone a lot further now. Maybe they're not giving household furniture and now you know what they're giving? They're giving cars for the boy. I personally
That's been
witnessed
happening. The scooter, now the scooters turned into cars. It went from Maruti to, probably something bigger and nicer than a Maruti. But in America, I'm hearing people get loans just to do a wedding.
Yep.
That's nuts to me. Like, why do they need to have a wedding extravaganza if they can't afford it? In a way, when you look at Americans or like non-Desi community, okay, I'm calling it Americans, we're American too. But when you look at non-Desi community, they will have the small weddings because that's what they can afford.
Yeah.
And that's wonderful to me. But when you're taking up like these crazy loans to have a, $500,000 wedding, that's just, you're off to a bad start to your wedding, to your marriage.
Yep.
Well, it's definitely becoming a culture of extravagance. If you were to name this phenomena, it's a culture of extravagance. And nothing new, this is, even in the past, it's pretty universal, different cultures. People, there are people who spend more than their means.
Right.
Again, for social status, and you buy things that you don't need. We do that. We buy things we don't need necessarily for our survival, for our day-to-day living. We do that, but I think this is where this becomes a problem when it is, when you're obligated to do it or when you're pressured to do it. That's where the problem is.
I agree with you about the social status. I think a lot of it has to do with the social status. There is, you can have a brand new, let's say, Mercedes or BMW or fancy car, and it'll get you so far in the Indian society because it's all about status. But if you have everything, but then you have a mediocre wedding for your child, suddenly for the next generation, no one's gonna look at you the same way, and that's the truth. And people know that. So it's almost like investment into society, high society, possibly.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think I've ever judged anybody on the size of their wedding or the quality of the wedding. I don't know who these people are that are judging people based on, is the wedding extravagant enough? And to me, when I watch it, it's like sometimes when it's too extravagant, I'm bored. I'm like, you've lost the plot. Like, we're here for the actual ceremony itself, and all this other stuff is really not that important. At the end of the day, what's important is the actual Anand Karaj, the marriage itself. That I think we've forgotten that, and we take that for granted. That's like, oh, let's get that out of the way so we can do the reception and get dressed up for it.
Yes, I agree.
What you remember as a guest is not how many, the napkins had the bride and groom's name, and then we got a cup to take home with the bride's and groom name. Which
like you're going to toss aside, like, do I really want, Jane married Nick
Scott
for whatever. Like,
forever.
I'm not saving that.
I'm like, give me a cute glass, but don't put anything
the next
on
garage sale, guess what
My
you're going to
name,
see being sold.
So it's funny because it's all about how you feel as a guest, how welcomed you feel. Did the bride and groom, did the host, the parents, or whoever who invited you, did they come and greet you? Do you feel welcomed? Is there sufficient enough food and beverage for you to feel satisfied, which is minimal stuff. I mean, I'm not talking about fancy. It doesn't have to do with fancy, in my opinion, because if you feel like, for example, your children were welcomed, you'd rather have that than have one more dish at dinner.
Right.
You felt more comfortable because your kids are invited, rather than, the wedding was at the Hyatt versus the
Sometimes the weddings are so extravagant that you are separated from the actual event. What I mean by that is because they're putting on this show, like you've heard of people having Cirque du Soleil show up to weddings and stuff, right?
No, but okay, thanks for telling me.
Or John Legend doing singing and Cirque du Soleil performing.
Yeah.
Now you're just watching. You're not really participating.
Right.
The couple is sitting so far away, you don't even know what they look like.
Yeah.
So there's no connection to and again, going back to why are we there? To bless this couple, to have them have a successful marriage. And that plot is lost when you're having these wedding extravaganza because you're just watching. You're not really participating.
The other thing is, on a practical point of view, if I'm a guest, I'm giving up my day to go to this wedding. So I better be treated like a family member because or close to being a family member and not being away as an audience.
Just want to be treated respectfully.
And not sat away, far away as an audience. I need to be shown respect. I'm not there to be waiting on bride and groom who are going to appear on that balcony an hour later, and I'm just sitting there because my time is also valuable. And that's what they forget. When you invite guests, you need to show respect because those people are coming to celebrate with you.
I think I get it, right? There's only going to be so much place for people that can be up front. So if you have close family friends, close family members, those are going to, just by, limited space, some people are going to end up at the back.
My point isn't about being up front.
Right.
My point is about being treated with respect.
Exactly. So I think that's where what I'm saying is that my point is there shouldn't be like a hierarchical way of treating somebody. You should still give them respect. You should still say, hey, feel free to wave to the couple. That's
feel
right,
free
right
to
there.
go upstairs and do matha
basic stuff.
Don't hide the bride from your own family. Don't be like, you can't come here. Don't be a bouncer at the you don't have to have a bouncer at a wedding.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. The bride and groom are not celebrities. They are part of the community. Yes, it's their special day, but we're not there as audience. We're there as part. We're part of the celebration, not witnessing it. You know,
We're part of the ceremony.
yeah, we're part of the ceremony, and that's what I think. Sometimes maybe it's the kids these days, or the whole Western thing is more like witnessing. You're witnessing. We're not witnessing. We're participating.
Another I think challenge that we have in Sikh weddings in particular is that, you know, obviously when you go to the Gurdwara, you go there with humility, right? You're humble in front of it. That's why men take off their kalgi when they sit down. I think there's this mentality in people to want to again force that Western mentality and bring that into the Gurdwara, like the, you know, this is the bride's day or this is the groom's day. And it's like, no, you're still at the Gurdwara, you know?
I agree.
You've got to be humble and you've got to be respectful. You are still second. Yes, you're important. We are there to bless you, but the bride and groom are still always going to be second to Guru Granth Sahib Ji. So, you know, these days they even have I don't know if you've seen dupatta utte lake. There's the bridesmaids are holding them. And
Unnecessary, I think.
I think sometimes the bridesmaids are kind of in the way. Like, their outfits
They
are always the
need- they
sorriest
need a job
outfits in the
to
whole.
do.
I feel bad because these are pretty girls.
Yeah.
And they're wearing the plainest clothes
Usually, that's
because
true.
they want the bride to stand out more. And their outfits are like the least, at least for the wedding part of it, they're like the least impressive
Well, the other
outfits
thing
most of the time.
which
It's a
was-
really bad color. Always, it's like I'm always disappointed.
Yeah, the other thing that was really, I was offended, and this was a while ago, somebody's wedding I was attending locally, right? You walk, the bride comes in, all of a sudden everybody is expected to look at the bride. In Sangat,
But that's natural though.
well, no, naturally you do what you need to, but if they say, oh, bride is here, like we're, and then one of the uncles from bride side is throwing flower petals in front of her as she's walking up
That's
to
nuts.
Guru Granth Sahib Ji, and I'm thinking, who allowed that? Because
That is not okay.
That's
It's
goofy.
not okay.
First of all,
But in the presence of Guru Sahib, like you shouldn't be throwing flower petals.
not at the bride,
Because she's
not at
coming
anybody.
in with humility
Yeah.
as well. She's coming into Mathadik. She doesn't need those flower petals, right? It's unnecessary. It's and the funniest thing I heard recently, or maybe it's not the funniest thing, it's the oddest thing, is that there were security guards at a wedding. Okay, and I heard
they
that
have to keep
locally.
the kids out.
The kids, the damn kids, the babies are coming. So I heard locally, this was a local wedding where there were security guards, okay, which I find
is this
strange.
actual wedding or reception?
No, at the wedding, at the Gurdwara. Okay, this is a Gurdwara wedding. So at the Gurdwara, they had security guards, bouncers, if you will, you know. So I'm like, who are they going to stop? Everybody's welcome. So who are the security guards going to stop from coming in?
I think there's a chance that might have been an interfaith marriage. And in some parts, when they know that there's an interfaith marriage that's going to happen, some people will show up to protest.
Or it might be that maybe
And
there's...
that's why, and I'm not saying that's okay. I mean, Gurdwara the doors should always be open for everybody. And if you're a, decent bride and groom, you'd be like, everybody's welcome. You know, come matate, come bless us.
Absolutely,
You know?
yeah.
Come give your blessings. But I think it's that interfaith topic, which is very heated right now, especially in England. And that's partly why they have it. I'm not saying it's okay, but I think that's partly why they have it. And
Or it might be some other reason also where maybe there is a danger to somebody's life, or who knows? Like, we don't know why.
But it's still Gurdwara. You can't.
But that's
you cannot
odd that they have
close. You
security.
The
cannot
problem
shut the
is
doors.
a lot of
on
times
people.
these security guards are traditionally trained, Western security guard, non-Sikh security guards. They don't understand the etiquette. If you had a bunch of Sikh security guards, they could probably handle it, the situation. They would know, like, you can't stop, you can't get in the way of people going inside. The problem I have is now you have these, a lot of these are like part-time cops or whatever, working part-time as security guards. We don't need that kind of energy at the Gurdwara.
But why are they at the Gurdwara in the first place? That's just bizarre.
That's my
to
question,
me.
really.
Well, there were
yeah.
security guards at the Gurdwara when it was a New Year's night. They had security.
There's
guards.
always goofballs doing stupid
That's the thing.
things.
So
There's-
if maybe they find there's a reason for it.
But at a wedding, I think I think it has a lot to do with that. I think I might have. There was a video going around on social media a little while ago, and I think it was on that topic. And I mean, it's something that I did a deep dive on. That means I spent like maybe more than 15 minutes on social media
Deep dive, huh?
researching.
Okay.
But I was curious about, because I never even thought about this topic in the past, interfaith marriage, right? And it was like, okay, are 6 allowed interfaith marriage? And the way it was being shown on social media is like, no, like there are people protesting that you can't have interfaith marriage.
They say you can have interfaith marriage, but you can't, then don't have a nand karaj, have it in the court. When no one's saying you can't marry whoever you want to, their position is then a nand karaj means when you come to a nand karaj, you're accepting Guru Granth Sahib Ji as your guru. In an interfaith marriage, one person isn't accepting it. So you're just taking it as like just a ritualistic ceremony. So they're saying, that's not what Anand Karaj is. Anand Karaj is where you're orbiting. It's a Guru Granth Sahib Ji is going to be the center of your life. So that's what the Lama Fere is. You're kind of, it's like your solar system. You're a planet orbiting around that source, right? So if one of you doesn't accept it, then you're just going through it as a ritualistic ceremony. So they're saying, of course, legally you can marry anyone, but you don't have to have a nand karaj. That's where the debate is.
Right.
So, but moving on, I think one thing you had mentioned was something about, I think somebody was mentioning food at the weddings. I think there's also, now I read that young people, even in India, Indian weddings also, because they're so extravagant, they're saying that there's we're leaving a huge, massive carbon footprint with every wedding. So all the food that's wasted, there's a moral, environmental kind of a dialogue. So they're saying increasingly now young people this was about India, that they're actually choosing smaller, more sustainable kind of weddings, which to me was like it gave me hope. Like maybe young people, they're saying they're becoming more aware that there is human contribution to our climate change, etc.
But I think people talk big about like leaving carbon footprint, but they must have taken a plane to get there. They must have taken.
I'm talking about people in India itself.
Well, even in India, if they're having like destination wedding and then they're like, oh, we're going to make this sustainable, is this really sustainable? I think sometimes people love to use those words.
No, what the point?
But they don't necessarily, like when you look at the bigger picture, look at when we buy stuff online. When you buy stuff online, let me just finish. When you buy stuff online, you get so much packaging that comes with it.
Exactly.
It's like, wouldn't it be? Would it be more environmentally friendly for me to just drive to the store, get what I need, and all I'm using is a plastic bag rather than now have a box within a box within a box with like a bunch of plastic wrapping?
But that is exactly the point. The point is this. It was a scholarly paper. Which is criticizing exactly that by doing the destination weddings or by doing all this massive celebrations, there's a carbon footprint being left behind.
Can I comment on that? I agree with you, and I actually, it's hard. We've been to many weddings here, but what I saw in India when I attended a wedding a few years ago, I cannot even express to you the kind of layout and the amount of food.
Yeah.
I cannot even tell you because you would think I'm exaggerating, and I don't even know how to. I don't think I have words to express the amount of. We're talking about literally maybe when I say 100 dishes just for dinner altogether. I'm not exaggerating.
Right.
And let's say the wedding had 500 people. We could not have possibly. It was overwhelming. The amount of food was overwhelming. There were so much food and hors d'oeuvres, and hors d'oeuvres were so heavy that you didn't even have space for dinner. But the dinner, I think, from what I observed at their wedding, 90% of the food was wasted. 90%, because there was so much. Because when you're making a dish, you still have to consider the fact that potentially a lot of people want to eat that dish. So you're going to, as a caterer, you're still going to make a huge amount of that one dish, but then multiply that by 100. And now you have enough food for maybe 20,000 people, and the wedding only has 1,000 people, let's say.
Yeah, and the other point, this article was this lady who did research was, she was saying, her name is Mahi Agarwal, and it was some international journal of relevancy and consumerism, right? And she said that you can't even separate the trash. You can't say, well, food waste, we're gonna give it away, or recycle, or this can be recyclable, this is biodegradable. You can't, because eventually the way the trash is thrown, it's all mixed up to the point that it's just going to go in the landfill, because there's the paper products and there's the single-use decorations and there's the food being thrown away. So it's that 2 to 3 day wedding contributes to huge environmental implications.
And also food wastage.
Did you guys see the Amir Khan's daughter's wedding? Did you guys catch any of that on social media? It's a few years ago. I think it's been like 2 years.
Yeah, some.
It was a very Pinterest type of wedding. Okay, like it seemed like she put it together herself.
I remember that. She wasn't dressed as a bride.
I think she must have read that paper.
Probably.
I think she read that paper. I think it was a very sustainable.
Eco-friendly.
Right.
Good. And
so people are doing it. They're, like, it's nice to see stars' kids who have access to everything and then still choosing not to go all the way.
Yes. But I'm glad you brought that up, because I think that's almost like another extreme where he came in tank top and jeans and kind of thing. So I almost think like there's two extremes happening. Right?
That was a very bohemian style wedding. I think so. It was, how we talk about American weddings are on a budget. I think they did it maybe within their budget. Like, this is what me and you can afford, so let's do it. And in a way, it was like, oh, this is different. Got everybody talking.
I think really, if the bride and groom are old enough to get married and they consider that we could have our own household now, right?
Right.
They're old enough to pay for it.
Yes,
like,
I agree.
honestly, the smartest thing, and what I want to see more, can we make that trendy? Can we make it trendy?
No,
that the bride and groom
it's too expensive.
pay for their own wedding.
Weddings are always
keep it simple.
How simple can you? Even the simple things are expensive. Like event centers, for instance. Even not talking destination wedding. We're talking about just a event center. Just let's say going to Temecula, renting something for a day. Starting package is $20,000.
But
that's not even
an
including
event center?
anything. Yeah. What are you going to do in your backyard? I don't recommend it. That is even more expensive doing it, because now you got to get the paper plates and the whatever.
No. You go even to the Gurdwara, get married, and everything else is optional, actually.
Yeah,
if you think about it.
That's true. But would you, if you were young, let's be realistic. Like,
now
looking back, it's different. I would be like doing that wedding totally differently. But
I liked your wedding. I would.
I'm glad you did. I was very frustrated.
If I get married again, I would totally marry.
No,
that way.
I would. No. But if I may just finish, if you guys, if you were young at this time,
if you were young, if you were getting married again at this time.
No, if you were, because the age is very important. The age. I'm talking about an age. Yeah, I am talking about an age. If you were young at this point, getting married now, you would want all of the things that you've seen on social media.
No, not me.
I mean, I was young once upon a time. I didn't crave any of that.
We didn't get exposed. We didn't get bombarded. Like, look, there's literally influencers.
I still wouldn't want it.
There are literally influencers who've gotten married like 2-3 years ago. They're still posting their wedding events. So they keep going back. This is our Mehndi night. Here I am watching my Mehndi night with my husband, and this is the video. Like, they're really milking this whole wedding thing.
Right.
And the unfortunate part is, I think for this generation, not everybody, of course, but for this generation, there's a real emphasis on the wedding part of it, the
And the social
festivities part
media,
of it, and posting it on social media and making all your photos social media
I
Brings the
friendly.
popularity.
I can
counts.
tell you,
too much.
if I was to get married again, it would be the simplest, most beautiful wedding. Simplest, emphasis on simple. I wouldn't want fancy anything. You know, you would really focus in on a very set group of friends and family that you've gathered, people that you love. Not everybody. You don't have to invite everybody,
Your
but invite
parents
people.
would still want to invite their family, friends, and everybody,
I-
and
of
there
course.
would be an expectation
No,
for them to show up.
I'm not saying don't invite, but these are people that care about you. You don't have to invite everybody. But the people
400
that you invite, yeah. And then you keep it simple. You don't need the fanciest photographers. You don't need the fanciest. What's happened now
Even
is
the basic photographers are expensive.
what I'm
trust
saying
me.
is you can do things really simply. It's absolutely possible. We are getting again wrapped up in this consumerism, this advertising culture where Instagram. I need Instagram famous XYZ.
Just
you
the
name it.
nails alone can
Yeah.
cost like $200-$300 if you want to get the nice
Right.
new nail. Okay,
Nails
the
can
manicure.
cost-
Like, yeah,
nails-
what I'm saying is that
that's
even if
your
you want to
choice.
go, I'm talking about not you as a person who's a full adult looking back. You're like more sensible. But when you're young at that age, you're gonna want some basic things. You're gonna want to have a bridal shower and maybe even go away on a trip with your friends for that bridal shower.
No.
Things will add up.
Speaking of
Yeah.
that, like interestingly enough that you bring that up, because we had a very interesting situation where someone that I love dearly, I won't name names, but let's just say a young woman that I know. Okay, she was invited to a bridal shower or a bachelorette party.
I know
it was a
what you're
bachelorette
talking
party.
about,
Okay,
yes.
bachelorette party. So all the friends were gathering up somewhere. So they were gonna do joint stuff. So not counting the plane ticket to go to this event, it was gonna be the contribution was $1,000. So imagine this young person. All these are young people, right? Who are going to the wedding. Let's say they're young adults, right? Who has $1,000 budget in addition to the plane ticket? So this doesn't for what? And I was really curious. I'm like, what all are you spending $1,000 on? I am really curious. Bunch of girls getting together. You can have fun going out to dinner. You can go to dancing. You can do lots of things that don't cost
Is it a
$1,000.
trip that they were going on? Right. Okay. Plane
but
tickets.
They were just gathering up in this Airbnb to do this bachelorette party. So I was like, what is the money? Like, there's got to be one thing you're doing that's really taking a lot of that money. They had hired a private chef. Snooze fest. Who in a bachelorette party needs a private chef? I sure don't.
Right.
Bunch of girls getting together in our day. We would be outside. We would be wanna go dancing. Wanna go and do things outside. I
Yeah,
don't
it would be
need-
less about food and more about fun and
The activities.
activities.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
now they had spent bunch of money on a private chef. So if that's not Instagram crazy or
Right.
being driven by fanciful
Yeah.
ideas, I don't know what it
How many
is.
times have you gone to a restaurant, for instance, where somebody invited you and they said, "Oh, we got to check out this restaurant," and you go there and the food is like, ugh,
Yeah.
disgusting.
Yeah.
But the ambiance is beautiful. It's like, picture perfect.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing. Like, it's like everything is driven by how does it look on Instagram?
Yeah.
What are people going to think when I, tag that I was at this place?
Yeah.
And I think that's the same
That's
thing with the.
basically it.
Well,
with how
I've been at
people
friends'
waste money.
houses where it's like they invited, let's say, 5 couples, or 4 couples, not less than 5 maybe, right? So you think small gathering, right? Just 4 or 5 couples in a home you're gonna have dinner, whatnot, just spending time together. But then they also, because they want to show their socials, it's a social trend. They also hire these servers and others to serve. So it was almost awkward because it's not like a huge party. So the servers are like always there, and they're bringing you water and they're like, okay, it's dinner time now.
And sometimes it's like, I don't want to have a conversation with the server staring down at me like, can I fill up your water cup?
Yeah, so
Leave me alone.
Downton Abbey.
Stop staring at me.
Awkward. It's awkward because now next time if I want to invite those couples to my house, am I expected to hire servers now? I'm going to be like, here's the food, help yourself, right? So yeah, some of us don't necessarily follow trends.
Yeah.
But then some people out of those groups start following trends. And I think that's what's taken me almost like I almost don't want to socialize. I've changed. It's almost like there's been an evolution of who even the friend circle.
Right.
Because I'm not a trend follower that way. I might be following other trends, but not like social status related trends. Those don't attract me.
Yeah. You know, can I go back to the wedding thing for a second? Sorry.
No,
we're talking about influencers and all of that.
We haven't talked enough about
I know. I just want to, I was just sitting here and I was thinking, you know, one thing I would have loved when I was getting married, and I would want this for other couples out there too, especially young couple, because we're seeing more divorces now where there's so much emphasis on the wedding, but not emphasis on the marriage. But people
liability insurance,
having somebody to talk to before the wedding, before entering marriage, and having the couples understand the capacity of the responsibility involved in when you get married. And you know, the first year is hard for people, and I think that's where we're starting to see a lot of divorces and these young people getting married at a very young age. You know, they're getting married in like their early 20s. And
actually, I thought the trend was the opposite. Like, aren't they getting married like later and
I'm
later?
seeing a lot of young, like people getting married in their early. Maybe
Gen
that's always
Zs
been
are-
that's always
Gen
been there.
Zs are for marriage.
So millennials were doing the late. What I heard is Gen Zs,
The opposite.
they've turned it around. Now it's
Well,
early.
Taylor Swift getting engaged.
Well, she's in her
should
30s,
inspire
millennial.
which
us.
I think
Yeah.
I think it's a good age. But I mean, who cares what age, right? But whenever it's right. But I would love to see like every gurdwara have like a sit down with the couple, and there should be somebody. I'm sure they can find
There
a volunteer.
There is.
So at every gurdwara, or just maybe one? I've seen them in
San
San Jose.
Jose.
Yes,
San
which
Jose
I was like,
Gurdwara
this
has
is
a
brilliant. I think I even
program.
sent
but
maybe
be
I
careful
sent you
what
the.
you ask for, because have you heard some of these kathavachaks?
Okay, that's a problem. I
No,
know
but
what you're
that's-
saying. That's
who
a problem.
do you think?
Well, here's what if I may just say this.
yes.
If I would like to see the reality of marriage, not this idea of an ideal marriage in a utopian society.
I think San Jose Gurdwara has a program that families have created, and it's they want you to understand like the meaning of lama, for example, because the fact and other things. But so you're not just sitting there also witnessing your own marriage and not participating in it. You want to go with an understanding of what does Palari Lava, what does it actually mean? What am I listening to? So there's that aspect of it in the training, and they have other aspects, and they're just local families that have created these programs.
Yeah.
What I was going to say is, and when I say be careful what we ask for, because a lot of these wise men, I'll say men, because most of the time, I would say 99% of the time is men. If you hear what their idea of marriage is, it's very backwards. They would take us back 500 years if they could in their perfect world. So it's always it's very focused on the girl's duty and what is the girl's obligation and the girl's duty.
Yeah.
It's almost like it sinks the heart. I've heard it so many times, and so I would say, please just, I'm sorry, shut up, okay? Have the wedding, the Anand Karaj, okay? Don't say a word, because your idea of what is ideal marriage is not.
Oh, you
But
mean
this
when
is
they go there
I
and do-
agree
Yeah.
with you. I
yeah.
think it matters who's and how that message is being delivered, and
do you
unfortunately,
control
everybody puts a twist on what they want on it. I'm talking like there should be volunteers that are like marriage specialists there are counselors,
If
right?
they're trained counselors, I
I'm
can go
talking
behind
about
that.
trained
Yeah.
counselors that talk about marriage therapy for somebody who is, let's say we're talking about somebody who's sick, who understands the religion, also understands, marriage therapy. Somebody like that is what I'm thinking. And that's an interesting point that you bring up, because that's a slippery slope.
Yeah.
Where, and this drives me nuts, because when it comes to marriage, people will translate it and interpret it in a way they want it to be. And of course, it's always the woman is second, all of the English translations that they do of the verses are always so sexist.
Well, they're
and it's
colonized.
like
They're
yeah.
colonized language.
You
That's
read
what
them
it
and
is.
you're like, that's
That's
not what it's saying. That's not what it's saying.
If you
made
understand,
that
that's
up.
why we must understand Punjabi, because
Yeah.
without that, if I sometimes feel bad for our next generation that doesn't understand Punjabi, all they're getting is the English translations, which are like he, him.
Yeah. It's not it.
None of the actual writing has any,
There's no
sex
pronouns.
assigned to
I
it.
remember
Yeah.
bringing it up one time, and I said, well, that's not what it's saying. It doesn't say he.
Yeah.
Why does the translation say he?
Because
And then somebody said, well, that's what the English language says when there's no, when it doesn't specify a gender, then they just use the word he. It's supposed to be universal. And
we
I'm
have
like,
to
no.
decolonize these translations. That's
Yeah.
what it is. It's colonized translations, and that's out there. People are talking about it.
Good.
And because that's exactly what it is, that this our translation of Guru Granth Sahib Ji has been colonized, where like even the word Lord, that's not our vocabulary. We don't say the word Lord, right? We don't even say the word God. God is not our word either. So I think a lot of this vocabulary, the way it's translated, it is not
drives
the
me nuts.
translation
Yeah.
that we want to go for.
And here's the thing. Then you have those people that say, I read all the Guru Granth Sahib Ji.
They read the
It's like, how long did it take you? Like, I read the Guru Granth Sahib Ji. I read all the translation. I know what it's all about. And I'm like, how long did it take you? And did you really? Because I'm still on like Ikonkar. Like, you really, how is that even possible?
Yeah.
But that's the thing. They don't understand that a lot of it is kind of figurative speech. My opinion is, and I could be wrong, and feel free to, provide your input. My opinion is that, it was written in a way that Guruji, they want you to use your brain to get to to figure out the meaning, because then you're exercising your muscle, right? You're coming to your conclusion, the conclusion that they're setting for you. But it's not like, here's a rule book, rule number 1, rule number 2, and that's how people want it to be that simple.
It's not prescriptive that way. Yeah. But I think I forgot what I was gonna say. Oh, your idea about marriage family therapy, and I think what you mean maybe is counseling, right? In therapy is a little bit more extreme.
Yeah. No, I mean, I mean counseling.
we want,
I mean guidance.
We want guidance. We
someone
want
to sit down with
yes.
the couple and explain to them the
Yeah.
significance of lama, like you said, and then,
even like financial obligations. This is you have to manage your finances. How do you respect each other? You are both equal in this partnership. Those kinds of ideas have to be told. Maybe otherwise what happens is, like in any partnership, even business partnership, or in just a coexistence, somebody becomes more dominant, right? So I think it's good for them to hear, like, hello, this is not how we're going to live. And it empowers the less dominant person. Maybe one is by nature less dominant, maybe not even as a society, but by nature they're just less dominant. It's good for them to hear it too, like, oh, okay, this is how I should be thinking also, So I think you mean guidance. I don't think you want them to have
guidance
therapy.
and counseling. Yes, but hey, therapy. If you guys like, that's the next
counseling,
level.
maybe
Go for
like
it.
a premarital counseling.
Like consultation
would be good.
with the
And
professional.
It's not to screen, are you ready to get married? But I think it kind of like, here's the reality. And yes, it's fun to have a wedding, but this is what marriage is going to be like. Let's talk. And I think the challenge that I see with parents is, because this was a different generation, it was a different set of rules that those couples were working with. And so they're not being able to give the proper guidance of today's world to these kids.
So the context has shifted because now, like, finances are very complicated. Day-to-day life is different. So you're saying, like, they started their life together in a different context, and now the context has shifted. So maybe you're saying more guidance is needed.
I think that they need more. They still need advice. The parents are giving them advice, but that's even actually happening in India too, by the way.
What's happening
even in India, where so what happens is that traditionally it was always like they were a young couple. They haven't really developed as adults, right? Independent lives, independent jobs, independent thinking. They're not really decision makers. Now, as people, we were talking about millennials that are getting married at a later age, right? These are full-grown adults. They have decision making. They're like the bride, or we're calling her bride, but the girl is making her own decisions. Who's a woman now? The guy is making his own decisions. Them coming together and trying to forge this life together is more complicated than when their parents were getting married.
It's like a merger of two corporations.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is very complicated.
Yes.
Yeah. And before, when they were much younger, that's why it was all those practices, traditions, you give this to the mother-in-law, parents have to pay for this and that. It's because kids were younger when they got married. They weren't self-sufficient yet. And now, going back to that same point, if you're going to get married at a later date, then you should be financing your own marriage.
That's true.
There's nothing I agree more, because what it does is, and I'm not saying that the parents contribute nothing.
Right.
Like you I think most Indian families, the parents will end up contributing something.
Yes.
But because what happens is then there's some form of like budget, that these young people work with, because with parents it's unlimited. Girls family, go borrow, right? I mean, when you start borrowing, that means you've like really broken through, and budget is no budget anymore, right?
Yeah, right.
So it should not leave a lasting. I think the prerequisite, and maybe that could be part of counseling too, the prerequisite for this ceremony should be that within 6 months, you should not even think about how much you spent.
Right.
Because
It's
it
not
should
like
be
a
that
student loan.
affordable.
Yeah.
It should be affordable event.
Exactly.
And if you stay within your means. And I think there is, as community, because we are a community, and we don't want to dictate what each family does, because everyone has their own right to do whatever they like. But when you start setting up this agenda and kind of like this trend, which is going to set the wrong idea in everyone's head as they try to keep up with each other.
Right.
I think as a community, or even in Sikhism, as a religious sort of, whatever, community again, that there should be some kind of guidance to the parents saying, no, you don't need to give down payment for their home, And if you want to give it, then don't announce it. And you do it after the wedding.
Yeah.
Like, I may give my child a Rolls Royce because I can afford it. But if I give it as part of the wedding presents, then that's wrong. There's something wrong.
Then that means you are trying to
Setting
show
that.
off
Yeah.
something,
Yeah.
or keep up with something.
I think then what you just said, that give it after the wedding and not during the wedding. And I think as somebody who is, let's say, a responsible person who, even though they can afford it, they say, I don't want to start this trend. Because if I do it, people who can't afford it will feel compelled to do it as well.
Yeah.
And that's when you're part of the problem.
Yeah. Think about yourself as part of the community rather than this sole person who has something to prove,
Exactly.
And I think we can't control all of the Desi community. Desi community is very large.
It's
but I think
vast, yeah.
as since we are Sikh, I think that is an idea that I think we need to circulate and say that keep control, because call it what it is. Call it dowry. If you want to do it, call it dowry. We gave our daughter this much dowry. And then the other family can say, we accepted this much dowry. and then call it what it is so we can look at it the right way. Don't call it gifts. Don't
Sugarcoat it.
sugarcoat it. Yeah.
One thing I like is, I think, going back to the environmental factor of carbon footprint, I love the fact that now cards are on WhatsApp, they're digital, and I don't have to save them somewhere. And second, there's no waste being created, and I can access that card whenever I need to. Okay. And the other is there's Gurbani Tukka on it, which now I don't have to worry, like, how am I going to dispose this card? I'm going to have to, burn it, etc. I can't just throw it in the trash. So I'm really liking the digital component of wedding invitations or any event invitations.
What I've noticed though with weddings, although you get the WhatsApp cards and the whatever, the digital cards, you still get the paper cards. That's what at least I've noticed, that it hasn't necessarily replaced it. For parties and stuff,
For
it
some
has.
people, some weddings I have, it's just been the digital card.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. That's good. I'm
Yes.
happy to hear that.
Yes, because otherwise the cards were like multiple pages. Like within
they're
a
really
card,
cute,
there's like
though.
multiple.
I look
They are
forward to the
cute,
Desi
but then
cards
I
are,
was like,
like,
okay,
unique.
now one, I'm gonna have to hold on to it for a while until the wedding is over. Second, if there's Gurbani written on it, we can't just toss it. What do we do with it, right? So I like the digital, and digital easy because I'm driving to the venue. I can quickly pull it up on my phone, and I know the address is right there. So it's just more convenient also. So I'm all for digital cards.
So what's interesting, another thing, talking about the money that it requires. So recently, I was talking to a friend whose son is, she's preparing for her son's wedding, right? So one of the things she brought up is that buying clothing or any of the items for the wedding, because they come from India, the tariffs
Oh yeah.
have doubled and tripled the cost.
Yeah.
So now there's more cost. So we were talking about expense. I think the expense is only going up because of these tariffs. So there is an impact
But
to
people
everybody.
are still gonna do it because they got to do that wedding. They got to have the,
Keep
especially
up
the
with the
designer.
Joneses.
Nowadays, there's even a trend of like brand name wedding gowns, right?
Oh, yeah,
Like
yeah, of course.
whatever.
Sabyasachi,
There's
Sabyasachi.
blah blah blah, right?
That's just ultimate consumerism.
There's just so much going on, and
They all look the same
Darjis
to
can
me.
do a pretty
Go
good
to
job.
your local
Yeah.
darji and have them make you a wedding dress. One, it's going to help their family.
Yeah.
Why would you go to out of your way to get to this? And at the end of the day, you're still wearing a lenga or suit or something. It's
Yeah.
not like they've added something
Even
else
the
to it.
grooms, they're wearing like designer.
Can I say-
Some of them look
what
like
do you
they're
call
wearing
them? Those
dresses.
Yeah.
sherwani. Yeah.
Can I say,
Some of them are very feminine.
I have very wonky opinion on male dress at weddings. I find it very feminine and not so appealing or attractive for a man to wear very embroidered.
Well, some of
With
them
the-
that's
That's their
traditional.
choice. And
No,
look,
I'm not
if
saying
they-
it's not their choice. I'm saying what I'm saying is it's
Have you
it's
seen
controversial.
Maharaja Patiala and their
Yeah,
outfits?
well,
Like, okay.
But I find men's dress that's like overly embroidered and overly gaudy with like a chunni. I'm sorry, I
With
call
the
it a
chunni, I think it's too much.
It's
Wait, what
very,
chunni?
like
the
they have
dupatta.
like they like to have like a dupatta type of thing too.
So
which
the thing is, traditionally, like if you saw like
It's
achkan,
not
right?
a chunni. It's a shawl style.
No, it
Whatever.
was
It looks
shawl
like a chunni
style,
to
but
me.
nowadays it's become a chunni.
chunni. It's very
It's
chunni
literally a
looking.
dupatta. Okay, it's literally a dupatta.
I find it too feminine for my taste. Okay, I do not think. I think the most handsome guys. Okay, a lot of these guys are very handsome. Our guys are very handsome.
Most guys. Here's my bias. I don't think it's bias. I
Most
think it's
guys are
reality.
handsome? Is that what you're gonna
Most
say?
guys who put on once they put on a pagdi,
They look
it just-
handsome. Yeah.
So many degrees
all look
of
put together.
100%.
Yeah,
You put
they
a
all put
pagdi on
together.
the most random guy, he'll look handsome. I agree. So, but my God, please refrain from the very feminine outfits. I
You
like.
went to a wedding where the guy was literally wearing a kagra. Like it seemed like a kagra. I'm like,
You said that. You saw the pictures. You were like, what was the guy?
It was like a double take.
They're wearing these like almost like
skirts.
and I'm sorry for anyone who wore it, but this is my opinion. It's like a skirty thing. and I don't like it.
Almost like anarkali style.
Yeah,
suit.
it's like a
So
narcoli.
what happened?
So you
Let me
got the
tell you what
chimney-
happened. He went to India. He went to a shop,
and they
and they
convinced him.
said,
This
latest
is the-
fashion.
So he had to
Latest
follow
fashion.
the
Sare
trend.
pariner, sare pariner.
He had to follow the trend.
He had to follow the
Okay.
trend. He got convinced.
Poor guy.
Maybe this
You
shows
suckered
my
into
Western
it.
nature. I like men in a good, nice, sharp suit. Okay.
But okay, that's not our tradition.
I know. I
So,
apologize.
I'm okay with them wearing, the traditional attire, because that to me is much better than wearing a suit. But don't make it so feminine and flowery.
I've seen guys wear, like I was watching Karan Aujla's when he met Jimmy Kimmel, and I was looking at what Karan Aujla
His
was
outfit
wearing.
was really good.
It was. I am
was really
totally
good.
bought into that.
Yeah, that
If
was perfect
a guy
balance.
can
Yeah.
show up in a Indian outfit, like Desi outfit, looking like that. He was wearing a black like kurta and like almost like tailored kind of a pajama type of thing, but it was tailored, like tapered. He looked great.
Yeah.
It was
he
like
looked
a
very
sleeveless
masculine.
vest on
Yeah,
top,
and he
and
had
it was
sort of-
black, so it all just kind of
That's what
blended
I'm
in
saying.
together. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's how traditionally it is.
Yeah.
It wasn't. Maharaja
dupatta was
Patiala
never
is
there,
an
yeah.
outlier.
Yeah.
Most Punjabi men didn't, or Indian men in general, they don't all dress up like Maharaja Patiala, right?
Yeah. Well, at
to
the
look
wedding they
like,
do.
To look like, yeah. So they're following the trend of this
Yeah.
outlier
Yeah.
versus how mostly it was done.